Hi everyone, it's Hannah from HanJan Crochet, and in today's video we are going to be joining these crochet squares together that form our Spring into Bloom blanket. Now in previous videos we have gone through how to make the small, the medium and the large square that all tessellate together in whichever way you would like them to create the Spring into Bloom blanket. Now if you haven't yet made your squares, then I'll put in the description below links for the videos and also the written pattern where you can find everything so that you can catch up with us, make your squares and then come back to this video in order to join them together. Now if you've been making the pattern along with me, you'll know that, as I say, there are these small, medium, large squares, and 2 of these small squares will fit alongside a medium square and 3 of them will fit alongside a large square. So when we're joining them, we just need to make sure that we lay them out correctly. There's lots of ways to do that. Correctly is perhaps not the word to use, or however you would like to, as long as they form the shape that you want the blanket to ultimately be. There are ideas within the written pattern for you to help inspire you as to how to lay them out, because there are so many different ways that you can do this, and I can't wait to see what you decide to do. So today what I'm going to show you is the principles of this technique so that you can then go ahead with your full blanket and join it as you would like to. So I've got, as I say, 4 of the small squares here, and they all have 24 stitches along each side, and I'm going to join them along these lines that we have here and continue in this way. And then, for example, if we had a medium square up here at the top, you then would need to do that line there and you wouldn't need to continue with this one. So depending on how you lay out your squares, you're going to need to do a different number of joins. So before we start even thinking about joining our squares, I want to have a little word about blocking. Blocking your squares at this point will absolutely transform the look of your blanket. It will look so much better if you block them. And I know it's a faff and I know it takes time and all that stuff, but I promise you it's worth it. So if you haven't already done that, go ahead now, block your motifs to be nice and square and crisp, and then come back to me and we will start joining. But let's begin with these 2 bottom ones here. And to do the flat slip stitch seam, we're going to lay your yarn with your short tail down here at the bottom in between your 2 squares. And I do find that this is easier on a tabletop or a flat surface rather than my lap, which is really annoying because I do most of my crochet on my lap in the evenings. But honestly, for joining blankets, it really makes a difference to me anyway. So then what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking this square here, and we want to find the corner stitch that's just over here, and we're going to go into the back loop only of that corner stitch. And then you're going to find the corresponding corner stitch here, and you're going to use the back loop only of that one. Then once you have your hook in both of those, you don't have to do it quite, I just want to make it really obvious for you. The long end, the working end of our yarn is up here, and the short end is down here, and it's behind our work. And all we're going to do to get ourselves going is hold on to that short end down here at the bottom, yarn over, and then you're going to pull through both of those loops, and we have started. And now for a little while I am going to carry on holding on to this short end so that I've got some good tension there. And then we're going to just simply work into the back loop of the next stitch here on this right hand side, and then the back loop of the corresponding stitch on the left hand side. We're then going to yarn over and we're going to pull through everything, so both squares and then the loop on your hook. And then we work into the next stitch along, so the back loop only of that one and the back loop only of that one, yarn over and then pull through everything. And that, dare I say it, is absolutely all there is to this seam. Now of course, if you want to sew your motifs together, or if you want to use a single crochet to join them together, if you want to use a braid seam, if you want to use whatever you want to use, it's absolutely fine. But this is my preferred method here, and I think I'm actually going to do the main blanket in a contrast colour. I was just doing it for this video to make it easier for you to see, but I actually really like it. So you can make your seam a thing if you want to. So work your way all the way along this square, Now I've joined all of those stitches of those two, and I'm going to grab my other two because I want to carry on working in this direction. So simply to join and the next two, we're going to find the back loop of the corner stitch of this one, and then we're going to find the back loop of the corner stitch of this one. And you just, keeping your yarn here at the back, we just pull through everything. And then you just continue to work up. So once you've completed that seam, we can then rotate your work, and it's up to you with the big blanket if you join everything going in this direction first and then join in the opposite direction, or you might want to do segments of the blanket at a time. It's entirely up to you. But when you're ready to go in an opposite direction, we begin in exactly the same way. So I'm going to join up until I get to this corner in exactly the same way, but then meet me here and I'll show you just what we do when we're going over an existing seam. So here I am, I've worked all the stitches up until where we meet this seam here, and then all you're going to be doing is working a chain one, not a loose one, but not a tight one either, just a regular chain one. And then what I will do is actually go into this stitch that's already joined back into this corner one here, and then into the corner one there. And it just helps it lay nice and flat when you do that. And then we carry on working. Oh, once your hook slipped back in, there we go. Carry on working in those back loops of each corresponding stitch, working that slip stitch seam. And I often get asked for any tips and tricks with slip stitches, especially, but slip seams like this. So my top tips are to keep your hook as flat as you can. Don't keep changing the angle of your hook because that tends to tighten up the stitches. So stay nice and flat to the work. And just be mindful of being loose or gentle, I think is probably the best word. Just be gentle if you can. And here, I know I hold my hook very differently to lots of people, and that's completely fine. However you hold your hook is completely fine, but just be mindful of not gripping the hook too tightly. I'm barely holding the hook here. I'm not putting any force or tension on it, and I'm just allowing it to just slip through those stitches. So that really is all there is to it, to seaming the whole of the blanket. So work away, do your seams, and then once you have your whole blanket completely joined and seamed, then come back to me and we will start working a border together. Once you've joined all of your squares, we are ready to put on a border around the whole of the blanket. Now I've designed this border really simply so that you can just carry on working as many rounds as you like to make it the size that you would like it to be, or whatever colours you want to incorporate and use within your border. So what we need to do is find a corner stitch to begin with. Now it doesn't matter which corner that you start in, but just find yourself one of the corner stitches there, and then you're going to join your chosen colour to that corner stitch. And we're going to chain one to get started, and then into that corner stitch we're going to work a half double crochet, a chain one and a half double crochet, all in that same corner stitch. And then what I'm going to do is work a half double crochet in a back loop only of each of these stitches as we then go along each of the sides of the blanket. And that's all there is to it for this round. What we're going to do is carry on to our next corner, wherever it may be, under the table here. And then when we get to our stitches in the corner there, you're going to, in the next corner stitch, you're going to work your half double crochet, chain one, half double crochet into that corner stitch. And then you're going to carry on working down the other side here. Now the important thing is here I haven't yet weaved in my ends, and that's very intentional because I find it so much easier to work the border and then weave in the ends of my joins afterwards, but if you have weaved them in by this point, it's absolutely no problem at all. So work away on this round 1 of the border and then come back to me when you're ready to join to your first stitch, and then we'll do round 2 together. Now I'm back at that first stitch, I'm going to slip stitch in it to join, and then we can begin round 2 of the border. Now round 2 is going to work double crochet stitches, so I'm going to begin this first one with a stacked double crochet stitch here. So I'm going to work a single crochet, and then into the side of that single crochet I'm going to work another single crochet. Now you can work a chain 1 and a double crochet in there if you like, or you can work a chain 3. It's entirely up to you, but if you like stacked stitches, then that's where you can work one in there. And then next up we have our chain 1 space in the corner, and into that chain 1 space we're going to work a double crochet, a chain 1, and then another double crochet. Then we need to start working in all of these stitches that we have here, and we're going to work a double crochet in each of them, working and mimicking the texture that we have in the rest of the blanket by working into the back and the 3rd loop only. So just going through, missing that first front loop that we have there, and just going straight through there so that we get the back loop and the 3rd loop there. But this part is entirely up to you. If you don't want to use that texture, you can go into just the 3rd loop only, you can go into that whole stitch, you can do it however you would like to do it. But essentially that's all we now need to do. You need to keep working up until you get to the next chain 1 corner space, and then in that chain 1 corner space you work a double crochet, chain 1 and a double crochet. And you carry on working that all the way around the blanket until you get back to your first stitch again. And then you're going to join to that one, and then you can carry on repeating rounds 2 and 3 as many times as you like in whichever colours you like, until the blanket and the border is the size that you want it to be. And then you can finish off by doing a final repeat of round 1 to finish it.